right.
Hello, my fellow Americans. I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics. And the number one guy comes up next, Mr. Ray Hanania.
And I am Ray Hanania, and it is September 5th, 2024. This is season 3, episode 27. And we were going to take a shot at talking about, I don't know, a little bit of the media bias in this election, but also how President Trump, former President Trump, held a press conference to outline his economic ideas and plans. Some of them were not a surprise, but, I don't know, as I listened to it, I felt pretty positive. I mean, obviously, I support his plan to eliminate the tax on Social Security. I'm in favor of increasing the cap from, I think, 168,000 in income. If you're making up to 500,000, you should pay, the tax on Social Security to put it into the trust fund matched by the government. And then when you start collecting it, that Social Security shouldn't be taxed. And he also said he was going to extend the tax cuts that are going to expire next year. So I don't know. I know it was kind of, there isn't much out there. And even on his website, you can't find his breakdown. So he's not doing a great job of promoting himself. But he seemed calm and tame. And, he didn't seem like he was going off the deep end, attacking people and calling them names. What did you think of what you read so far?
First of all, let me say that I was disappointed that in some of the things that he had to say, not in regards to his economic plan, but he did call the Democratic candidate for president, Comrade Harris.
Yeah.
He also talked about her communist ideas that she wants to promulgate onto the United States of America. Now, I don't like that kind of campaigning. I have chastised the Democrats for doing it. I've chastised the Republicans for doing it. I would like to see people campaign on the issues.
Right.
Now, maybe some people like that kind of campaigning. I don't. I don't think it's good for the country. Now, as far as what I know about his proposals, I'm glad to see that he is seriously considering having his new buddy now, Elon Musk, head this commission that's going to, cut out all the waste in the federal government, come up with ideas on how to do things in a streamlined fashion, thereby reducing even more money needed by the federal government. Ray, I've seen these commissions come and go for the last 40 years. They never seem to be able to implement many of the things that they choose. This commission may come back with tremendously brilliant ideas, but if it's appointed by Trump and Musk runs it, whatever the results are, you better have Trump as the president. You have to have the Republicans control the House and the Senate, because there is no way that any Democratic public office holder is going to vote for anything that aids or assists Elon Musk or President Trump. So the chances of it passing, I think, is slim to none. But I'm happy to see that he's proposing it. I'm happy to see he made up with Musk, because I think it can be helpful to this country. Now, I don't see a lot of meat on the proposal. I don't know, maybe he does have a lot more meat on the proposal. He spoke for well over an hour, I understand, at the Economic Club. Other than, comrade and communist, I don't think he did too much of that name calling. So there's got to be more to it. Unfortunately, the news media once again intervenes here between the candidate and the people by not amplifying what he had to say in giving us the details about his proposals. at the present time. So they're doing a great disservice, not only to Trump, but primarily to the American people. The American people have a right to know what one of the candidates is advocating. Now, I don't want to see any further reduction in any taxes whatsoever until we find out exactly where we are at. Someplace along the line, we have to stop going into the red in this country. Because you continue to do that, there's going to come a day when the Yankee dollar, is almost useless, has no value. It'll be like Germany in the 1920s. We'll be going around with a wheelbarrow, with our money in it. I don't want to see that happen. It's going to not only weaken us economically, it's going to weaken us militarily. So all these proposals are fine, but I want to see what develops from them. And I don't want to, I know you're talking about cutting taxes on Social Security. Fine, if we can substitute something else that doesn't hurt people. But right now, I don't think that that is possible, that is doable, or is in the best interest of the people on Social Security, because we want to make sure they continue to get it. I'm all for increasing. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, we could put the Social Security tax on every single dollar that you earn up to $1 billion. It's fine with me. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Okay. But that's about the only thing that I'm prepared to support at the present time until I see more details.
Yeah, and the problem is we can't see. Now, I listened to the whole speech. A lot of it made sense to me. I mean, I'll tell you, but the media grabbed onto a few things and they went right away to get critics to say, oh, this is going to increase our debt. They didn't talk about how Biden increased the debt some $2 trillion over the last 4 years. The Republicans and the Democrats have increased the debt. I agree with you. We need to address that. Nobody has. I like the appointment of Elon Musk to handle this commission that he's going to be putting together, which is, there is so much in it. This governmental efficiency commission is how Trump called it. And I'll tell you why I like it, because I've seen what Elon Musk does. His space programs, his Tesla program, the way I think he's doing a good job with Twitter, which he now calls X. I disagree with some of the censorship that has taken place, but too quickly they criticize Elon Musk without, providing the real facts. They accuse Musk of censoring this very popular Arab American last week, and it turned out that the Arab American, when he came back on Twitter, he said, well, I had to shut my account because somebody tried to hack it. So instead of the media giving us the facts, they feed into this idea of hate. And you're right. I mean, it is always disappointing to hear Trump, and we focus mostly on him because he has leaned heavily toward the pettiness and name calling. But in this case, I didn't hear that much of it. There was a few. And to me, it was no different than what Kamala Harris does when she's giving a speech, saying the same stuff about Trump, but nobody focuses on it. And I'm not criticizing you. I think that both sides drop the name calling, focus on the issues.
Yeah, I think I said that. No, she does it too. I think the Democrats have done it.
Yes.
But when the Democrats do it, you don't hear about it unless you really dig down deep, okay?
And even then, it's hard to get anything.
As soon as Trump made this speech, the news media ran out and found
they ran with it.
Individuals who are anti-Trump in the first place to criticize the programs that he is proposing. Once again, distorting the real picture. I mean, you've got me, Ray, into a position, because I've studied it more and more because of your criticism of the news media in this country. I really believe that they are extremely detrimental to this country and to the citizens of this country. Now, what we're going to do about it, I don't know, because anytime you try to reform the news media, people say that you're trying to, take censor it.
Censorship and unfairness.
Mhm.
But the news media is providing a platform through partisan cheerleading rather than constructive analytical reporting. They're not reporting the facts. They're taking parts of the facts, and I've seen this done over the years, not to the extent that it is being done today, but any reporter can. They don't like somebody, they are going to say it in some way in their story. It's not news reporting anymore. What we're getting is media opinion, and they're cheerleading for Kamala Harris because Trump and the media don't get along. But the truth is, Trump and the media have never gotten along since he entered politics. And the media is determined to twist and fabricate stories to make it look like Kamala Harris is going to win. And I'm telling you, she's going to lose. They won't cover the fact that Arabs, Muslims, and their supporters are not going to vote for Harris. They are going to vote for Dr. Jill Stein, and knowing that she's not going to win, but they're going to vote for her anyway to teach the Democrats a lesson. But the Democrats aren't going to ever learn that lesson because the media is going to spin it and nobody's focusing on it. It's a very disturbing thing. I tell you, there's one thing that I did like that Trump said. He continued to focus on the damage that illegal immigration has on this country. And he said basically that he would ask Congress to pass legislation that bars all taxpayer funded benefits from going to immigrants who enter the country illegally. Now, the news media said in reporting today, and they're going to pump this up, that he's anti-immigration. But that's not, when you listen to him, he says he's anti-illegal immigration, and he completely supports legal immigration. And I think that that's, what he's proposing is a great idea. He also, and one more thing, Bill, I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk so long as much as Trump does, because he does talk very long. I have to be honest with you.
I was going to start
The
calling
other
you Trump here, but that's all right. Go ahead.
the other thing was, he kind of clarified that statement that he made before the National Association of Black Journalists when he said, that these illegal immigrants are going to take black jobs. He then said it in the proper way. He said African Americans and Hispanic American jobs are under massive threat from the invasion taking place on our border by illegal immigrants. And I believe that is so true. And I think a lot of Americans recognize that's so true. But if you're in favor of illegal immigration, if you're in favor of making American taxpayers pay these illegal immigrants, you're going to believe the lie that he just hates immigrants.
Well, first of all, let me say that I certainly agree with legislation, a law that would bar any taxpayer's money going to do anything for illegal aliens. Because we must remember, they broke the law in the first place. Why
exactly.
should we be willing to give them any kind of reward in this country? Now, many people advocate that they should get a driver's license. Well, if they get a driver's license, then they're going to want a car. Then they're going to want insurance. How are they going to pay for this car? How are they going to pay for the insurance?
Well, the government's giving them money like crazy. I mean, sometimes it's more beneficial to be an illegal immigrant in this country than it is to be a legal immigrant or a citizen.
And the Democratic Party loves to tie illegal aliens and legitimate immigrants together in one package. There is a world of difference. People who are legitimate immigrants in this country working toward becoming a citizen, having gone through the rigors that are necessary to get a card to be able to work in this country, to be able to qualify to be a citizen in this country is one thing. And coming across the American border with Mexico is another thing. That's entirely different. We should not be wrapping immigration and illegal aliens together. But the Democrats do that because they would like to have as many people as possible coming in here so they can ultimately make them citizens and they can ultimately make them voters. And I don't think that they will have sufficient time to assimilate into an American way of life and look at it from an American perspective They will still look at it from a perspective of a Mexican, a Venezuelan, etc. Okay, and I think that will be very harmful to this country.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I do believe, and just to be fair, I'm not a big Trump supporter. I was the first time he ran because I couldn't support Hillary Clinton. To me, it was the lesser of two evils. And then I voted for Biden because I didn't think Trump delivered on what he said he was going to deliver, and because I disliked his Middle East policies. But today, I don't think I could support either one of them. Although when I listen to Trump, and it's very hard to get the facts unless you hear it directly from him, and the media is not giving him that platform. There are many things that I do like that he says. For example, he's going to take on China and their economic raping of this country. His idea, one of the things he said was that he's going to aggressively use tariffs to target companies that outsource jobs or do not manufacture products in the United States. I totally agree with that. We
So do
need to
I.
stop. We need to stop taking, going to foreign countries that pay minimum wage. It's such a hypocritical thing from the Democrats when they say we got to stand up for pay people what they deserve, and then they turn around and say, "Oh, let's allow China to pay 5 cents an hour to little children in these factories to make products that they're going to now ship to the US and we're going to buy." I think that's the kind of hypocrisy that the media doesn't address anymore because they know it's ugly and they know it makes Trump look good and it makes the Democrats look bad. They should pass a law that punishes the media. I'm a journalist. I'm a former journalist. I grew up in journalism for 50 years. I was inspired by the Watergate revelations. I totally believe, though, that the news media needs to be revamped and controlled, not by corporations the way they're being controlled today, but by guidelines on what is reporting and what is opinion. Because we're getting 90% of the reporting is opinion, and about 10% of the reporting is actual news reporting buried in that opinion.
I agree with you. I don't know how we do that though. That is a problem. I know the founding fathers were all for freedom of the press. You really are. I am. But it was a press that was supposed to be objective. And we don't have a
and
press.
Professional. Yeah.
What it was, I don't know what professional means nowadays, okay? I do know what honesty and objectivity means today is I buy the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal every day and read most of the stories in there. And they have many stories about the same issue. You would not know it was the same issue by the perspective that these newspapers take. It is, I have to try to read through the facts and come up with what the real story is. But how many people are willing to do that? And how many people want to have, two opinions to try to source through? They would rather just have one. So they get it from the New York Times or they get it from the Wall Street Journal. And that's not the way to be objective. That's not the way to be a good citizen. A good citizen has to be knowledgeable, has to read through the propaganda put out by the parties and put out by the news media, 90% in behalf of the Democrats.
It used to be that we could turn to the journalists like Walter Cronkite. And, these are back in the days when reporting was it was such an institution that it was, if you even hinted at an opinion in reporting, you could be criticized and it was a shame. That was the generation that I grew up. So I try to keep my reporting out of my opinion out of reporting. But when I do express an opinion, I clearly state it. This is my opinion. You can take it or leave it. It's not reporting today what I write on. I'm reporting what I think of the facts that I'm able to glean. But we don't have a Walter Cronkite anymore in America. We don't even have a Barbara Walters, who I didn't even agree with half the time. we have like Anderson Cooper's, we have MSNBC, we have CNN. These are opinion spin, and they're destroying the political process because we don't know what the political debate really is about. All we know is what they want to spin. If somebody says something and they don't like them, they will find somebody to criticize that remark and turn it into the worst thing that can happen to this country. Some of it is getting out, but Trump really needs to do he's getting better, I think. I think he's a better candidate this time than he was when he ran 4 years ago against Biden.
I think the reason that you had a more objective news media was because I think that the individuals who reported the news prior to the proliferation of television were much more objective because they went to real journalism school. They really wanted to find out what the truth was and present it to the American people. I think once a lot of those people retired and we have people doing the news on television, they have been influenced very much by various large corporations to spin things that are advantageous to that corporation, to that union, which is what has created a lot of our problems in this country. But I don't think that we have well-trained, schooled, reporters, commentators. Long before you could be a commentator on radio, you had to be a reporter. You had to be an objective reporter. Then you could get to be someone who shared your opinion with the audience. Nowadays, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, can share his opinion with the audience.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, most of the American people still think that the news that they are hearing is a factual-based news when it is not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, listen, social media, the internet have played a major role in destroying news media objectivity, because you're right, anybody can get on a Facebook page, and if you have a lot of friends, suddenly you become the reporter spinning news rather than reporting news. And when you spin the news, you leave out what you don't like, facts that may balance something. And without those objective facts, anything can look like the way you want it to look. And I think that's really just a terror. I went to the New York Times. I said, okay, here's a former president coming up on a debate in a few days with Kamala Harris. And he outlined his economic policies. What are they? A normal professional reporter would bullet them and say he wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I get react from both sides saying, what's the upside? What's the downside? But you'd give a balance reaction to it. Now it's like they pick and choose what they didn't like, and they find somebody that accentuates why it's bad, and they push that. So it's really disturbing. Maybe we should. I was going to say, Bill, maybe we should point out that this week I did interview you on my Middle East, the Arab radio show, talking about the process of the political election system. That people in the Middle East and outside the U.S. don't understand it. You made a great point. You said we're really not a democracy. We're more of a republic. And I thought maybe you want to explain that, because I know what it means, but I think that a lot of people don't understand it. They think that two words are interchangeable, but there's a subtle difference.
So in a democracy, the people directly elect their representatives. In a republic such as we have, we do not do that. We elect individuals to elect our public officials on the presidential level. Okay,
right.
That is the republic form of government. Now for your alderman, you vote for the individual, the name of the alderman. Okay, but that's not the way you do it for the president. That's because we have the Electoral College, we have electors. Those are the people who actually cast the votes to create the presidency, to create the vice presidency. Many people in this country don't understand that. Many of the people in this country want to do away with the electoral college. But that protects the small states from being overrun by the very populous states. The very populous states, because of all the representatives they get in Congress, are very strong and powerful now. And on top of it, the president always caters to those states because they have more representatives in their states. So the presidents like to ingratiate themselves. But once again, if that was allowed to happen, the poor smaller states, Wyoming, Montana, Rhode Island, right on down the list, they wouldn't get anything, believe me, nothing from the federal government.
Yeah, you did a good job of explaining that during the radio segment. I do a 1-hour show every Thursday on the U.S. Arab Radio Network, which is sponsored by Arab News. And people can watch that if they want after its broadcast, which is at 4 o'clock today, which is about right when we finish this. By the time I get our podcast up there, the radio show will be over. So if anybody wants to listen to that interview I did with Bill for the U.S. Arab Radio Network, they can go to my YouTube channel, or they can go to Facebook and find Arab News, and they'll have the entire interview there. Your segment is about 25 minutes. I also interviewed Dr. Jill Stein, who is a third-party candidate. And I know you weren't endorsing Jill Stein at all, but you did make a really important point that in today's polarized world, there's nobody in the middle anymore. And maybe there's a way to empower third parties to force people to come together. Because Jill Stein, as the Green Party has many times with Ralph Nader, undermining Al Gore, with Jill Stein undermining Hillary Clinton, 8 years ago, when Trump was running against her. They do have a major impact. And I think Jill Stein's going to have a big impact. And you can hear her comments during the radio show, too.
I think everybody should listen to both of those programs. I think both of them will be quite educational. And not because I'm on one of them, but simply because of the topics that you and I choose to discuss. I think those topics are very important, and I hope the American people are listening to those so that they will be a better class of voters. We want everybody in this country to be very high information voters.
Yeah, and I agree with something you said, and I repeat it often, that the American people are smart enough. If we give them the facts, they'll come up with their own opinions. They don't need the reporting to be opinionated. They need the reporting to be factual so they can decide for themselves. They're smart enough to do it. We do not need to tell them how to think, which is what I think journalism and reporting is doing today. All right, Bill. Anyway, I think you did a great job on that radio show, by the way, and I'll promote that so that people can hear that. They can go on Twitter and pull down some of the clips they have of you. And I think I sent you the link to the story, which I'll put in this podcast so people can read that story and listen to the links. I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and until next time, have a great day, my fellow Americans.
We'll talk to you later, everybody. Bye-bye.